majority this, majority that. Time and again, the authoritarianism of oligarchic democracy spreads as populist regimes make the claim to the popular support to the cause of the major part of the population they control, they hinder, they process. What choice does the population have but to endorse the regime? It is not the individual. It is the majority that has, supposedly, elected and justified the leader and their team, the cabinets, the heads of state, the parliaments, the oligarchs, call them as you wish, time and again make their claim to the people. And yet the individual has nothing to say in this. Whenever a democratic process comes to a resolution, to a verdict, it is the vibe that dictates the outcome. No one before has the scientific conclusion, nor the one benefiting all the individuals, been chosen in the midst of anger, in the midst of destruction, and in the midst of the reaction. It is only the combination of the scientific, collectivist, and individuals' thoughts that has come to a rational outcome. Ask the populace what parties shall represent them. The distribution of seats, the new coalition, new self-proclaimed era of enlightenment, then becomes the one of populism. And yet, it is not the vibe. It is not populism. It is not party propaganda which shall dictate our future. What options does democracy provide to deal with this issue? There are two main points to discuss: the representation and self-determination of minorities on one hand, and the scientific consensus on the other. Through a democratic representation, it may be challenging to provide representation of minorities sufficient for guaranteeing safety, comfort, and coverage of each and every individual. This is only possible by replacing the whole institution of the representatives with committees of minorities. However, this would not simultaneously represent the scientific consensus on the well being of the majority. Another option is, thereby, a technical government. Is a scientific committee a good enough measurement to provide the majority with their well being and to secure the minority rights? Possibly so. Does it provide their representation, however? A technical government is a debatable tool of transition from an imperialist to the more egalitarian system. However, it is not a replacement for the latter. A popular democracy is exclusive against the representation of minorities, and the latter is hardly compatible with technocracy. All the system of people's will are still a quote unquote democracy. Hence, an appeal to humanity, an appeal to society. Much like the hierarchy was the one to create the idea of a God, the individual was the one to create the hierarchy. As each form of authority steals from us, whips us, tortures us, infringes upon our individual liberties, we shall let no hierarchy rule above us. Each hierarchy results in an accumulation of power, of an unfair advantage. We, anarchists, do not recognize the right of the population to limit our liberties. We do not recognize the power of the majority to infringe on our body autonomy, to infringe on our identity, to infringe on our thoughts and our responsibilities. What right does the majority have to allow discrimination against the people of color? What right does the society have to produce extreme rates of sexual violence against the transgender folks? What rights does the government possess to generate the detrimental suicide rates of neurodivergent people? The majority has no right to dictate against an individual. It is the right of the individual to dismiss the majority. And every system which makes a claim to the popular support, be it fascist imperialist or be it a state-run bureaucracy, is responsible for sufferings of millions, of billions of people. Simultaneously, the systems of minority representation and of academic platformist decision-making exclude and rot each other through power struggle, accumulation of power, and infringement on the individual. We may conclude that thought system of parties ought to be replaced. Technocracy or representation of minorities are not a good enough solution to end up with. Today are a good alternative. It is high time we realize that the final struggle is the battle for the abolishment of states, of capital, of imperialism, and that of violence. It is high time the egalitarians of the world make a move to abolish all unjust hierarchies. No authority should be left unquestioned, from each according to their ability to each according to their needs. Forward!